Welcome in, folks. This is JE Live, and we haven't done it in a while, but we're going to be doing a Q&A today where I just want to invite you guys to ask whatever the hell you guys want, and I'm going to answer it. So, obviously keep it, like understandable, but yeah, Q&A. What's up? Hope everyone's doing well. Young and Isaac, how we doing? What's up, Queso Jesus? How we doing? Appreciate everyone being here. What's up, Ray? Alex, how we doing? What's up, Joe? Yeah, so, all right. So the title is not suggesting that Honey Badger is a ram. So I want to be very clear. It's not truly clickbait. It's something that I will be touching on, I'd imagine, because it was a big thing today. I understand it sounds kind of weird, but I want to make sure I get his name right here. At Shad McGinnis, the king of Colts, he's kind of he's this insider from the outside, I think is the way that he kind of puts himself. And he just basically tweeted out earlier today that the Rams have interest, and actually there's mutual interest on both sides with Tyrann Mathieu and the Rams. Now, anybody who's watched this show, anybody who has tuned in knows that I've been a big fan of the idea of adding Tyrann Mathieu and not ruling out the idea that he could be a Ram. I think he helps them in numerous ways. You talk about what he can do as a safety, playing free or strong, can play the cornerback position either outside or inside, can play a pseudo linebacker role. He really is the jack of all trades. And he really is like a honey badger. I mean, that's basically, there's a reason why that's his nickname. So I think it's very realistic. And from what I've been told is that it's very possible. And at this point, I've actually been told it's more possible for him than it is for Stephon Gilmore. So that's just the gist of it. Be sure to hit the like button if you're interested in this type of content. Get people here. Be sure to share this around. Always helps if you guys like my stuff and we're live. If you guys could share that around, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, it helps. So I do appreciate it. But this is a Q&A. So I'm not going to sit here talking about a one-topic thing. I want to hear from you guys. So let's see what we got here. Hit that like button. Yes, Ray. We're doing well, Henry. I have 2 championships on the season. That team over there with the helmet, beautiful helmet, best in the league. And this team right here, the Kansas Jayhawks, making me proud, man. Making me proud. It's been a tough year in other circumstances, as you guys know. I have been very open about that. But in the circumstance of sports, aside from the Lakers, beggars can't be choosers. It's been pretty freaking awesome. It's been my favorite sports year by far. It's my 2 favorite teams. I love the Lakers. I love the Golden Knights. I really like the Devils. I like Edmonton in hockey. I like USC in football as well as Kansas. I like Alabama. I have teams that I really do like. The Yankees in baseball. But if I could pick 2 teams every year out of my favorites to win a championship, it would be the Rams and Jayhawks. I've always had more of a connection with those 2 teams. So it's fantastic. So yeah, I'm doing very well to answer your question, Henry. How does Bobby Wagner fit with the Rams defense? Great question, Julio. So essentially, Bobby Wagner adds a new element to the defense. He's one of those players where you add him and you might have to change a little bit about what you're doing. And that's a good thing. When you get a player that can change how you do things the right way, add more and make it so maybe you dig into the bag of tricks and you try to be more creative. That's a good thing. And Bobby Wagner's a guy that can blitz. And I think they're going to be using him a lot in that regard. It can also use Ernest Jones that way, as we saw in the Super Bowl. So you got 2 guys that are really interchangeable. Ernest Jones, I'm expecting to have an even better season this year. Being around Bobby Wagner is going to be huge for his development. I love that. But I think Wagner, his ability to blitz, but also he had over 170 tackles last year. He's a freak as far as that's concerned. I think he's going to be big time, as far as, snuffing out those yards after the catch that really plagued the Rams last year. They were top 10 in missed tackles. So bringing in Bobby Wagner is really going to shore that up. I understand there's a lot of people that are concerned with him in coverage. Let me just be very clear. Whether it's Stephon Gilmore, you're talking about Bobby Wagner, or, Tyrann Mathieu, anybody that has a weakness, okay? Think about this now. They go to the Rams. They have Aaron Donald rushing the passer, Greg Gaines coming off his best season, A'Shawn Robinson was playing outstanding football to the point where defensive coordinator Raheem Morris said he was the best player on the defense in the Super Bowl, A'Shawn Robinson. So they're getting that great play up front. They got a great pass rusher, a guy that's really come into his own with the Rams, and Leonard Floyd. They got some other guys on the outside. I really like Hollins. I really like Lewis, and we'll see what else they add. But then on top of that, that's the thing. It's who they're playing around. So they all complement each other. Maybe the issues that Bobby Wagner had in coverage, maybe they get somewhat covered up in this type of defense. It's the same thing with if you're worried about Gilmore. Oh, he doesn't look that great. Well, do you think Gilmore's going to play as poorly as he did last year? I don't think he played that poorly, but do you think he'll do it, as poorly as he did last year when he's opposite Jalen Ramsey? I don't think so. So I think that's the thing that we miss, is that maybe a guy struggled, and we've seen it. Guys struggle, and then they go to a nice situation, all of a sudden they don't struggle anymore. What is that? Well, I think it really helps. There's 10 other guys around him. I think sometimes, we focus too much on what this guy hasn't really done a lot for me lately, and not really enough about the fit. Sometimes guys just don't fit certain positions, and Bobby Wagner was around a crap heap basically in Seattle, aside from Quandre Diggs, who's just incredible, and DJ Reed, who I'm pretty sure they just lost that outstanding corner on the outside. So yeah, to answer someone's question at some point, what Bobby Wagner brings to the table, I totally lost it because you know how YouTube just does that thing. Yeah, Bobby Wagner brings a lot to the table if you didn't already know. I hope I explained that as well as I could. But let's see. Okay, there we go. Julio, sorry, my bad. Darth Karth, what's up? How we doing? You want Boye and OBJ, says Ruiz. I would not mind that. I think Boye is still a solid corner in his own right, has familiarity playing off of Jalen Ramsey back in their days in Jacksonville, and I think he's still a good player. He's not great. He's not like he was when I wanted him, before he signed with Jacksonville. That was my guy. If anybody's been following me since the start of Downtown Rams, that was my guy. I wanted him. I wanted Woods. I got Woods. I did not get him. So, I wanted Kayvon, though. So I got Kayvon Webster out of it. So it worked out well. How big do you think the loss of 6 starters is? Great question. I mean, I'm sure in some capacity, losing a starter at any level is going to, impact the team. But, the Rams, it just showed, they lost some starters. You talk about Troy Hill playing the way he was. You trade away Michael Brockers, who was not willing to take a pay cut or whatever it was. I don't hold that against him or anything like that. But you lose him, you lose Hill, who was, I thought, outstanding down the stretch last year. And then you lose John Johnson. So, I do think it took him a little bit to adapt to that. And, I think they just made adjustments. And as you saw, the defense got more comfortable over the course of the year. There might be some growing pains, with having other guys in certain positions. The Rams might find out the hard way, but I'm not really worried about it. I think it's something that'll be corrected over time. And, you're not ever trying to win every game in the NFL. I mean, obviously you'd like to, but that's not a realistic goal. No one's going 18-0 or whatever it would have to be to win the Super Bowl after the regular season. No one's going 17-0 and then winning the Super Bowl. It's just not happening. It's not likely. But, you will have those games where they're called the stinker games, where you don't play up to your potential. Those are going to happen. I just don't think this team has anything, looking at it, losing those starters, I don't think that it's big enough to completely derail what they're doing. I know people are going to go, if they lose a game, instantly what's going to happen is people are going to think back to that 3-game losing streak and, remember the fact that, yeah, it's possible for the Rams to lose football games. Like, they lost football games last year. But at the same time, I would just say, temper your expectations in the fact that the idea of losing these guys will really hurt this team. I don't think it's going to. I think this is going to be a better team than last year. And I'll say this, I think the 2018 team was better than the team last year. I think they would have had a hard time defending Todd Gurley, CJ Anderson, etc. I really do feel like that. The only thing about the 2018 team is that, they didn't have Matthew Stafford. They had Jared Goff, who had never played in that type of game before, was really young, and just had no idea what he was doing as far as the coverage that Bill Belichick was willing to implement, whereas Stafford's been in the league forever and he's seen every coverage in the book. So, I feel like that was really the difference. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously you lose guys, but I don't think it's going to be a backbreaker, so to speak. But good question though, Joe. L Pineapples. There are rumors of the honey badger having interest, but I doubt it. I don't, because I've been told that they are real. It was confirmed by me, confirmed to me by a source I will not name, so please do not ask me. And no, it's not. Trust me, bro. I understand that's a meme. No, I just don't report anymore. So I got two, and I don't report. I'm not going to throw one under the bus or the other, but I'll just say sometimes we haven't been exactly the most accurate on one side, and maybe the other has been a little bit more accurate. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But no, I did ask about it, and I didn't even ask about it. I was actually told it. Tyrann Mathieu and the Rams, there is legitimate interest there on both sides. I mean, it shouldn't be a shock that Honey Badger wants to go to LA to play around Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and Bobby Wagner. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous to think that a guy, it's a shock. Like, you have to keep in mind that while it's crazy, because at one point, people were getting all up in arms about the idea of the Rams signing Jake Long at left tackle, that big thing, or when they signed Jarius Norwood. I understand we've come a long way as a fan base, but we need to realize that this is the prime destination right now. They're coming off a fresh Super Bowl win. They got plenty of stars around. They got plenty of really good glue guys that aren't necessarily stars, but guys that you can't build a team without. And on top of it, they got a fantastic coach in Sean McVay, probably the best in the league if you look at what he's done in a short amount of time. The coaching staff is great. It's just a great culture, and you're playing in Los Angeles, which wasn't possible until 2016. So now they're winning. They're in Los Angeles. They got a great culture, staff. It's a prime destination. The only reason a player wouldn't want to go there is based on the fact that, say, like a receiver, for instance, they see the guys that are there, Van Jefferson, potentially Odell coming back. I think he will, but we'll see. Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp. They may not want to go there because of the lack of targets, but for the most part, this is a prime destination. It shouldn't be a shock that a guy like Tyrann Mathieu would want to play for the Rams. It just shouldn't. So, that's my thoughts on that end. There is interest. I can confirm that on both sides. I'm not going to go into details. I don't really have many details, but I'm not going to have that blow up in my face and, all that. So I'll leave it at that. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys posted the more I find out. Obviously as it pertains to the Rams, but definitely something to monitor. I think the Rams are definitely in the mix, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with Honey Badger in horns. It's really going to depend on Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp's contract that it's, impending. Odell is still somebody they want to bring back. Basically the sense I get is that they're not really rushing to do that contract right now. Neither is Odell, because Odell is still going through rehab. Like, Odell, it's going to be a long road back, and it's not guaranteeing that he'll be back by November. That is the hope. But if he has any sort of setback, we're talking probably next year. Not next year as in okay, maybe for the Super Bowl. They might end it. He might be done. And the way I see it is that the Rams are going to likely look at a long-term, not long-term, but a 2-year deal with heavy incentive base for Odell. They're not going to sign him to a 1-year deal and only get 2 games out of him. They do want to sign him to a multi-year deal. We'll see what happens in that front. But you can definitely understand why, somebody like Allen Robinson is somebody that they coveted because, just the diversifying the receiver room, what he adds they didn't already have, and just the question mark with Odell because he was not going to 100% be back in time for the season, so that's a big thing there. We need Gilmore. That's interesting. I don't know. It's weird. I've kind of tempered my expectations a little bit on Gilmore. First off, going back, watching the tape, I thought there was a lot of little things that you really have to like about what, Robert Rochelle was doing. This is a guy that had a ton of ball production in college. Obviously, you guys know I want him in the draft, so I'd love the pick. But Rochelle is a guy that has extreme length. He's a former wide receiver turned corner. He has a lot of potential in his own right. He's around the right guys in that room. I think he's going to surprise some people and could play the boundary, and I think they'd be okay with that. On top of that, you look at David Long Jr., the way he played at the end of last season, really impressed with his ability to have kind of that short-term memory. Sean McVay brings that up, all the time with different players. David Long has that because he's had some moments where he gets absolutely roasted. He is not afraid to come back and be physical and be confident. I do like that. He struggled in early on in the season. He didn't give up on himself. He continued to play strong throughout the rest of the year. Long is a guy I was hard on, but I'm not going to lie. At the end of the season, Long was playing some really good football that has to make you feel pretty good about the future. Rams acquire one guy via the draft. I think that's the right approach. But I'm pretty excited about the way this defense looks, especially if they can go out and get Honey Badger, who can essentially do everything except for play on the defensive line. So that's kind of where I stand right now in regards to that. I don't think they need Gilmore. I'd be for Gilmore for sure, but I've definitely soured a little bit on going after Gilmore and going more towards Honey Badger because Honey Badger is younger and he's more versatile. And when you talk about the way, the Rams safeties, I don't think are being talked about enough. And in that regard, I'm talking about the fact that there's a lot of question marks there. First off, I have an issue. Why is Burgess not getting playing time? Is that because he's behind? Like, what's the deal there? He's a third-round pick in 2020. I'd like to see him be used more. Regardless of that, Jordan Fuller, there's 2-year guy, coming off his first year being a captain and wearing the green dot. Great stuff. You love it. But Fuller suffered a really bad ankle injury that I don't think we can just, overlook. We can't just assume and take for granted he'll be, ready to go for the end, beginning of the season and not have any sort of adverse effects. That's something to always keep in mind. Remember, guys, with the Ravens, different position and all, but Ronnie Stanley had a catastrophic injury and he did not come back from it. He missed an entire next season for the Ravens. If the Rams are banking on him coming back, that's one thing, but you just can't assume in this day and age, you can't assume with a sport like this that he will. That's a lot of grueling, work that he's going to have to put in to be able to come back. And so to me, I think safety is a question mark. You have Burgess that doesn't play much at all, and I don't know why. I think he could probably play pretty well, but I don't know what the deal is there. You have Fuller, who's coming off a major injury, and on top of that, no one's talking about the fact Taylor Rapp has an issue. Like, he got concussed, like, how many times? I mean, like, he's had issues staying healthy. He's also on a contract year coming up, so we'll see about that. I don't even think he starts. I think Fuller will start, but there is concern there. Fuller's now been hurt twice in back-to-back seasons. You have Nick Scott. Guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nick Scott has literally become the best safety on the roster. So to go out and get Tyrann Mathieu, I think makes a lot of sense. I think he checks a lot of boxes, but I think he's also in need at this point because there's so many question marks about the safety position that no one wants to talk about. I keep seeing it. No one is mentioning the safety position. I have concerns about Taylor Rapp's concussions. I have concerns about Jordan Fuller's ability to stay healthy and his ankle injury. I have concerns that Burgess is not getting on the field, and so much so that they got Eric Weddle 2 years out of retirement to come back and call the plays. That was concerning to me that Burgess didn't even play a snap in the Super Bowl on defense and only special teams. There's a reason to want to go out and get a guy like Mathieu. So that's why I lean there. I also still, if they get Mathieu, that doesn't change my mock draft. Just like they got Riley Dixon today at punter, doesn't change my mock draft. I like them both. I like bringing in Jordan Stout to compete with Riley Dixon. To me, going out and getting Riley Dixon shows that they're willing to have a little bit of a competition in camp, similar to last year when they went out and got Bajorquez, who just signed with the Browns. But that's the thing. I'm all for going out and getting Mathieu. I feel like he's more of a need than Gilmore. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but, when you look at the corners, you'd think, okay, yeah, but you got to buy into what the Rams are doing and the way they've played the long game with David Long. And no pun intended. I mean, in reality, they've done this a lot. They played the long game with Noteboom. They played the long game with a lot of guys, but I'm sure they feel like now they've developed David Long. It's his opportunity, and this is like Darius Williams is gone. Now Troy Hill's gone. It's his opportunity. He was a 2019 third round pick. He's got to step up. And Robert Rochelle, man, he's got crazy length. If he can work on the boundary opposite Jalen Ramsey, the Rams have an incredibly difficult tandem to throw against. Because one thing that you can say about Darius Williams is that he was 5'9", and he didn't have the length that basically Robert Rochelle possesses. So it's a big deal to have that length on the outside, the boundary, and then have a guy like Long at, slot corner. And now you bring in Mathieu, and Matthew's playing with Scott or playing with Fuller, and you're using him all over the place. That's huge. So keep that in mind. Also, they could trade Rapp too. If they get Mathieu, they could trade Rapp, see what they could get for him. If they could get like a 5th-round pick or a 4th-round pick, he's got an expiring contract. I think he becomes more valuable because of it. It's not one of those things where it'd be a salary dump. It's one of those things where maybe they want to go out and get a better pick and try to cash in on that. Who knows? But I definitely think that they'll be interested in Mathieu. I don't want to talk too much about that because I want to answer your questions, but I wanted to really point out my emphasis and why I've changed my tune from Gilmore hardcore leaning to Mathieu. All right, so let's see here. Please let us get Mathieu. That would be pretty awesome, right? All right, let's see. Wow, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you. Allen Iverson is Jake's source. Trust me, bros. Thanks, Alex, for the donation. Appreciate it. Totally missed that, by the way. I don't know why I didn't get a notification. You guys probably saw it, but anyway, be sure to hit the thumbs up and like, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. I talk a lot of Rams football, which I'm sure most of you are here to talk about, but I talk about pretty much anything you guys want to during the Q&As. We just got so into the Rams talk that, that's just kind of how it went. But all right, let's see here. So we got to catch up because we're way behind. You guys have a lot of questions. I intend on answering all of them that I can. So OBJ, I think OBJ will be back. We will see. Boof told us first, to be honest. Is that you? What's up? How's it going? Alex, we all fell for Jake's evil plan to get us in here to eventually talk about the 2022 NCAA champion Kansas Jayhawks. LOL JK. Well, is it really a Jake Ellenbogen show without throwing the Jayhawk, the Warhawk bird up? This is not their logo. I understand. I had somebody comment on one of my pictures. I think it was on Instagram. They're like, you're wearing a knockoff Jayhawk sweatshirt. I'm like, bro, this is the 1941 throwback. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not a knockoff. I started laughing at that. I was dying. That was funny. This is the best logo, by the way. It's pissed off Jayhawk. Come on now. He's too happy. The Jayhawk's too happy now. It is what it is. I guess you can be that happy when you win a national title. Love it. That game was incredible. It's the most watched game in NCAA championship game history. And on top of it, Kansas had the greatest comeback in the history of the championship game, coming back from 16 down. If you missed it, they scored 50 points in the second half to beat UNC. Have a tremendous amount of respect for the Tar Heels. So you Tar Heels fans out there that are watching this, I really respect that program. I think they're the two most consistent programs all time. Two blue bloods. And I'm a big fan of Hubert Davis. I think they're going to go far. And honestly, I hope they, kick the ACC's ass, to be honest with you. And I'll never root for Duke. So there you go. Let's see here. So, don't want to be greedy, but if there is any way we could get Clowney, I'd rather add him than OBJ. I'll pass. I think they're good on the edge. I don't think they need Clowney. By the way, Clowney doesn't even have... He has 41 career sacks. I couldn't believe that. He's been in the league since 2014, and he doesn't even have 50 sacks. I was literally blown away. Can I please have admin? Maybe. I don't want you to start fires in the Discord. Guys, be sure to check out the Discord as well. I'll drop a link at some point during this stream. How about now? That would make sense. So, yeah, we got 440 people in there. If you like me or like anybody in this channel, be sure to hit that Discord link and link up. Anyway, let's move on. Hey, Jake, haven't been able to catch a stream in a while. Do you think we see Atwell have a larger role this upcoming season? So no worries about that. I appreciate you being here now. Great question. I think with Tutu Atwell, we're going to see an opportunity for him to increase his workload, especially even if they bring back Odell, he's not going to be ready until at least November and could be longer. So, in my opinion, I think Atwell's the next man up, and then you could argue Jacob Harris. I know some people are thinking Ben Skowronek with his, basic, his usage, right? He got snaps in the Super Bowl. How would he not be the next man up? I think the Rams are really going to try to put a premium on getting Atwell and Jacob Harris involved. So I do think you'll see a larger role for him this upcoming season. JB2, what's up? Daniel, how much would you pay Mathieu? God, I don't know. It really depends on how much the Rams can afford. It's going to be a weird deal. There's going to be, if they get him, there's going to be void years, which, keep in mind, that does hurt you down the road. It's like free money, right? Because you're voiding out, that deal, but they're getting that money in return. So it does hurt you down the road, but it doesn't hurt you a ton if you're only doing a little bit. There's a reason why you can't always do the void years, though. Things like that do come back to haunt you. The Rams, I trust, know how to run their team, so I'm not worried about that, but that's just one thing. There's going to be void years involved. I think Mathieu could command up to $14 million. I don't think the Rams would have to pay him that. I think if he goes to the Rams, then it's him taking less money to win a championship, and that's basically my thoughts there. Are the Rams going to sign Odell Beckham? It's making me worry. I think they're going to, but it's going to be a little bit. It might be, you might forget about OBJ by the time they sign him, to be honest with you. You might be on to, me talking about the new draft, drafted players on the Rams or something like that, or we'll be in training camp or mini camp, and all of a sudden they sign Odell back. Like, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're in any hurry to rush a deal that has to be very precise in the fact that it has to help him out because he's going through a lot, but also has to help the Rams out and make sense for the Rams. And that's why I'm thinking they're going to try, orchestrating a 2-year deal, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. Definitely won't happen until the Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp stuff is taken care of. I will tell you that, but that is a great question. Okay, so what are some players that might not be bigger names that you think are due for some big seasons? I really think A'Shawn is going to have a career year. Scott, makes sense. A'Shawn's going into a contract season. A lot of people forget he came to the Rams, high expectations. This guy had a great season, one of the best interior defensive linemen in 2018 for the Lions, had a down year, and then he came to the Rams, and you're thinking, oh, he's playing with Donald, he's going to do so much. He gets a health condition. He doesn't get to play until like week 11. So he didn't really get into the flow of things, and he's had some injuries. So finally, we really saw him come to life in the postseason of 2020. And then I thought 2021, he got off to a little bit of a slow start, but really hammered it home down the stretch. Like I said earlier, Raheem Morris said he was the best player on his defense in the Super Bowl. Doesn't get enough credit. I wouldn't rule them bringing him back, by the way. I don't think he's just a sayonara type of guy, at the end of the season, goodbye, contract year, we're not paying you. I think it's we'll see what happens type of guy. He's probably not going to get the big contract that he got the last time, but he could get a decent-sized contract somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays with the Rams. Wouldn't be surprised if they let him go, but I wouldn't rule him out as far as remaining, and I don't mind that that guy that you mentioned, Sky. I think that's a good one. I'd say a player that's not a bigger name that could have a big season. That's a great question. I would look at somebody like, keep in mind, it's hard because the Rams have a lot of big names, but I would still, gravitate towards a David Long or Robert Rochelle. While everyone's panicking and wanting, the next best corner, whether it's Boye or Gilmore or trying to trade up and get, Kyler Gordon in the second round. I saw that earlier today. Not hating on it. I wouldn't do it personally, but I've seen it. While everyone's focusing on that, the Rams have a plan. And these guys have been well coached. Rochelle went through a rough season where, he had COVID, he got hurt. So this is somebody to me that I think showed some promise in a year that didn't go according to plan. And he was never really, he's more of a raw type of player. I think Rochelle could have a really good year, and I think Long could really emerge. This is his contract season. Long, is he going to stay with the Rams? Is he not? I do have a little concern that the Rams haven't tried to extend him because I do think you want to get out and rolling and get the ball rolling and be able to sign him to a deal before he hits that market. But at the same time, it's hard. So I think those two guys are the ones that you want to look out for, having, maybe not the biggest names, but I think they could have really big seasons if things go their way and they stay healthy. He was in the bag in the playoffs. Yeah. The Honey Badger with my Rams, could it be? Potential. Hey, Jake, what's good? What's up, AZA? Jake, don't you think they're done in free agency? Don't think there are much cap room. Dr. Dingus, I was told they're not done. So we'll see. The cap room, they'll be able to make cap. If the bottom line is, if Tyrann Mathieu chooses to go to the Rams are going to work their magic and try as best they can to accommodate him and get him on the roster. That's where it stands right now. If Mathieu wants to go to the Rams that bad, the Rams will go out of their way to try to make it work. They will. But, he could choose the Saints. He's from, Louisiana. He could totally choose the Saints. I wouldn't be surprised. He could choose the Steelers. I think if he ended up going to the Steelers and playing with Minka, that would be a nasty duo. He could go to the Colts. Who knows? But Rams and him have mutual interest. It's just, mutual interest is great. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, hey, I'm coming here, make it happen. It means I'm very, all right, I could definitely play there. I'd like to play there. If you want me, if we can make this work monetarily, I could do it. But that's the thing. It's all about, show me the money type deal, You're never going to get a guy for free. And I think people learned that with Bobby Wagner, is that contract was never going to be, uber cheap. So, I thought it was a really well, put contract together by the Rams, but it was never going to be uber cheap for the Rams, so to speak. Julio, Raheem Morris finally get his inside linebackers. I hope he is creative with them. Yep, same here, and I think he will be. I think it's a good thing for him, and it's like replacing Von Miller in a different way on the defense. People do not realize, maybe Bobby Wagner didn't have his best year last year, but I don't think he fell off as much as people want to say. I'm just going to say that right now. Alex, what's up? To be fair, the Seahawks defense as a whole played poorly. I don't think anyone should turn that into Bobby played poorly. Yeah, but you know how it is, Alex. People will. What do you think about Honey Badger and Gilmore rumors? I think they're real. Gilmore, not so much, but we'll see. I'd be fine with either, but if I had to choose one of them, I would pick Honey Badger for sure. HD, what's up? Does Wagner help us against the 49ers? I think he helps you against any team. I mean, he's a great player, and he's such a sound tackler. I think where you're going with that is the Niners, they have a lot of guys that are, run after the catch guys. I think he does help you in that avenue. I really do. So in that regard, yes, I think that does help. Let's see. I'm doing well. I got my Rams Blu-ray on Saturday, and my buddy Van and I are on it during the game in Seattle. That's awesome. That's really cool. That you were able to point yourself out in the Blu-ray. That's really cool, Darth. Darren, whoever can get Jalen out that star role, I hope we land. A lot of Twitter chatter, that is a total tongue twister, is saying Gilmore. Yeah, I mean, Darren, I hear you there. I would probably say Jalen is still going to play the star, but I think if they go out and they get Mathieu, they could, I don't know, they could rotate who plays the star, to be honest with you. But the thing about Jalen and why they want to use him in the star is Jalen has this particular set of skills. Insert the Liam Neeson taken memes. But he has the skill set that is just so different than any corner. And it's really changed my opinion on the draft. Seeing guys like him come out and Donald. It's like I see people like trying to find the next Jalen Ramsey. And I'm like, bro, Jalen Ramsey was generational, okay? The closest guy to Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, is Derwin James. And he doesn't have the durability that Jalen does. That's the thing. There's only one other guy in the league, in my opinion, that could play the star role at the level Jalen does, and that is Derwin James. but Derwin James can't stay healthy the way Jalen has been able to. That's my biggest concern with Derwin. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm okay with them playing him at star because I just feel like that's his best role. You're maximizing the talent. It's like having a jump ball receiver in Allen Robinson, and just because he's really good off the line of scrimmage and runs good routes, you're not going to use him over the top. You're not going to have him jump up and pluck the ball out of the air, even though he can use his body well. You're just going to be like, well, he can run good routes, so we'll just have him run quick slants. No, that's a waste. You don't want to waste him. You want to find the most value and, basically, export that into your defense. And that's basically what the Rams have done with Jalen Ramsey. And so that's why I am a believer in the star position for sure, especially with a guy with that incredible skill set that he has. What's up, Ray? Question, Jake. It's recently come out, Les Snead almost drafted Bobby Wagner in 2012, but traded the pick. How do you think drafting Bobby Wagner would have changed our defense in the Fisher years? Hard to say, but this is a great question because I don't think the defense was really the problem with Jeff Fisher. Really the issue was, some of the scheming. I mean, think about when Greg Williams takes over and he starts with his incredibly ridiculous and overzealous blitzing. It really put us in a bad spot. I mean, you talk about blitzing two safeties over the top, you have them come down, and now you have no one over the top to help. And it's man coverage without any safety help over the top. That's going to kill you if you don't get home and hit the quarterback. And so we saw a lot of that. Cornerback blitzing, full house blitzing, things like that. So I still, regardless if they had Bobby Wagner or not, I mean, they had a decent defense. I thought they had a good defense. But it's just times where, like, when you watch Greg Williams, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Just the blitzing was insane to me. And it was not methodical. It was like you're in Madden and you're down and you have nothing to lose and you're just trying to send the house and try to force a turnover, and it just was very chaotic, and I don't think it would have worked. So their defense was still really good, but it's not like I feel like Bobby Wagner would have turned them into the number one defense. But I mean, of course he would have helped. He's an incredible talent. He's been the best linebacker the last decade, in my opinion. So or at least you could argue the last decade, close to the last decade. So, all right. Who should be our other starting guard? I think that they should just probably roll with Coleman Shelton. I know he's not the sexy option, but you don't have a pick until the third round. So you could get a guard there, but personally, I think edge would make more sense. Just because of the issues with Terrell Lewis. You don't know how that's going to go with his injuries. Chris Garrett, love the guy, played very well in preseason. He's a project. We'll see what he does and how he continues to develop. We've seen these guys in the past. And then Justin Hollins is not going to be there forever. I believe he is a free agent after the season. So the Rams do have to, look at the edge spot and potentially go out and get a guy. Like, that's why I had them getting Malone. But also corner. You could argue corner. You could argue other positions. So going out and getting a guard in the third round isn't necessarily just, really conducive because you do have a starter at right guard. He may not be the most sexy option. He may not be a superstar. He's not having, somebody gigantic, but he is a good player. And that's one thing I got to give him credit. Coleman Shelton has developed into a good offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman at that. And that's who I think is going to be starting at right guard because of it. I'm not, expecting anybody to be brought in, to replace him, but that's just me. Ed B, Honey Badgers in NOLA right now. Yeah, I saw that. I don't think a deal is going to get done, though. I mean, it could down the street. It's not going to get done there. Like, he'll have plenty of time. What's up, Big Pimpin'? Alex, how we doing? Jake, can you think of anyone that we've signed or traded for in the McVay era that hasn't had a career resurgence or a solid year at the least? Because I feel like we've hit with everyone so far. So you're saying signed or traded? Well, all right, I'll say this. Clay Matthews didn't really have a resurgence. I thought he was okay. Just like Connor Barwin. Barwin wasn't bad. But Barwin's issue is that he really struggled at something that he was really good in early on in his career. He struggled to set the edge. And I think that's a big issue, when you're playing that 3-4 defense of Wade Phillips at the time. He wasn't setting the edge. It wasn't helping against the run. Those outside runs killed him. And, I think those two guys are the first guys that come to mind that they didn't really get the most out of, so to speak. Kayvon Webster's one that comes around. And Kayvon's a friend of mine. He's been on my show multiple times. In case you didn't know, I loved Kayvon Webster. I have his jersey. I met him. He's one of the best. I think he's one of the best pros that I've ever interviewed and ever got to know. But with Kayvon, he was playing the whole year with a torn labrum in his shoulder, the whole year. And he never really had a chance to get going because when he finally was playing really well, he got really comfortable. Keep in mind, this is a big deal. He became a starter. He was kind of a 3-4 guy, third or fourth option for, Denver. He became a starter for the Rams and then got hurt. I think he was really finding his stride and that didn't work out. But I think the Rams were about to get probably the most out of him had he not gone down with that injury. But those are the guys that kind of come to mind. Great question. I just think, Barwin and Clay had that injury. I just don't feel like they really had a chance to maximize that value, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm not complaining. I liked when they got Clay Matthews, and I liked when they got Connor Barwin. So I'm not at all complaining they got those guys. Not at all. I think they got really good contribution out of Ndamukong Suh. You could argue Aqib Talib, not as much, but I thought when Talib was healthy, he played very well, especially in the Super Bowl. Marcus Peters gets a lot of crap, but I still really appreciate Marcus Peters for what he did for the team. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if he was still here, alongside Ramsey. I just don't know how they would make it work with the money, but I never had an issue with him. Maybe the tackling was the one issue. Sammy Watkins, dingus. I mean, he took a back seat. I think he was more of a team player than I expected. For a guy that was really, the guy in Buffalo, when I always said I stood by it, I thought Woods was better, just didn't have as many targets. But Watkins took a backseat role, and I thought he was he fit the offense well. I thought Cooks fit better, and I think, Van Jefferson fits better than probably Sammy Watkins to a degree, but Watkins was an underrated blocker, and he never got credit for it. And I think part of that was because Buffalo ran so much, you had to block if you were going to play in Buffalo. But yeah, I don't think he gets enough credit. They didn't maximize his value, so to speak, but, I don't think... I didn't hate that move. I didn't love it at first, but looking back, I mean, it is what it is. They didn't sign him back. Oh, well. But I didn't hate it. I think they got the most that they could have out of him at that time, and we saw it the Chiefs. I mean, it's not like he did much after that. He had that great Super Bowl performance, but aside from that, he hasn't been great since. If OBJ leaves, does Snead draft wide receiver early? Thoughts? I don't think we're going to know about OBJ until after the draft. So there's a chance they do draft a receiver. There's a lot of guys, but I don't know. If I was going to take anybody in this draft that's somewhat realistic, and I'm not saying it's very realistic, but if I could get Calvin Austin the third, I would definitely consider it. He is so good off the line of scrimmage. Reminds me a lot of Rondale Moore. I'm just a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of his game. Just no wasted motion. Easy to get off the line of scrimmage. His release is great. His speed over the top, his hands, just a natural receiver. What's up, Dylan? I just that's my thoughts. But I personally wouldn't be going all out for a receiver. But it's a good receiver class, though. I will say that. So if you do want one, they are out there. 40 whiners are trash. Interesting. Are we bringing Sony back? If not, would love TG 30 back on a 1-year backup role. I mean, I'd love Todd Gurley back. It's just never happening. It didn't end well. I know Todd is in LA. He's more likely to sign with the Chargers than he is the Rams, to be honest with you. I think that bridge was burned, sadly. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not calling out anybody here, but there are quite a few Rams fans on Twitter that just didn't respect him enough. And I see it all the time. Oh, our offensive line was so great. The offensive line this year was pretty good, by the way. Run game, by the way. The Rams were 24th in rushing. Like, maybe appreciate the fact that Todd Gurley, regardless of what you want to say, Todd Gurley was the most dominant offensive player in football from 2017 to 18. And that includes quarterbacks. I don't think anyone held a candle to him when he was fully healthy. Like, he was a different animal, and he was 100% Hall of Fame bound if he stayed on that level. And I just don't feel like people get that. It's so sad. It's one of the saddest things I've seen in sports, not including, death or like serious injury. I mean, if you guys are watching Winning Time, I mean, I was almost in tears, with Jack McKinney. I hate that so much. I can't get into that. It makes me upset. And there are other guys, of course, Hank Gathers, who died. There are like way worse stories than Gurley, right? I mean, people have died on a basketball court. I'm not going to, stoop as low as to say that is sadder than that. Like, Gurley has his life. Gurley made a lot of money. I get that. But the caliber of player we were talking with Todd Gurley, it's just incredible to me how somebody like that, I hate it, man. I really do. I'm so glad that the Rams are Super Bowl champions, and I'm so glad that Henderson was able to help out. You guys know I'm a big Hendo fan, but I really don't. I just don't see why they couldn't have just, figured things out with Gurley. Maybe not cut him. And even if you did, bring him back on a cheaper deal and just, explain it how it is and just pay him. I don't know. It sucks. It's one of those things where I wish he would have had a Super Bowl, but at the same time, I wish Jackson would have. Steven Jackson won't be a Hall of Famer. Frank Gore will. I'll say this right now. Frank Gore, he's retiring. Hats off to him. He had an incredible career. 9 seasons with 1,000 yards. Coming off 2 ACL tears in college. Like, magnificent stuff from Frank Gore. I'm not saying it's not. But how much better was that guy than Steven Jackson? And I bring up Marshawn Lynch too. Marshawn Lynch was an icon in the media. Everyone loves him because of the run he had against the hapless Saints at the time that couldn't tackle. The 7-9 Seahawks. And it's like he became beast mode, and because Steven Jackson was in St. Louis, it's like, oh, well, whatever. Like, Jackson was beast mode. I don't think I've ever seen a running back look like... I mean, like, he was beast mode. And so it does bother me that he and Todd Gurley will never win a ring or go to the Hall of Fame. And I feel like both were Hall of Fame running backs. If Gurley was on, like, say, the Ezekiel Elliott-like offensive line that he got. So Ezekiel Elliott comes in the league, and I'm not trying to take credit away from him, but he comes into the league and instantly has the best offensive line in football, runs for 1,000. People are trying to say he's better than Gurley, which he never really was until Gurley got hurt. But, I'm sorry. You put Jackson behind Dallas's offensive line, Steven Jackson is going to end up retiring as one of the greatest running backs of all time. I have no doubt in my mind. What he did with nothing around him on the offensive line and total walking turnstiles. Not everybody on the offensive line. They had some good ones here and there, but for the most part, they were walking turnstiles. You look at, like, Davin Joseph, for instance, with Joe Barksdale. Barksdale was a good right tackle that suffered because of the poor play of Davin Joseph at right guard. Joseph was he was not bad in Tampa, but he was at the end of his career in St. Louis. And so, it really hurt the Rams. But that's my thing, is that it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, right, in the mock draft, if you guys tuned in for that. I'll say this over and over and over again. There are running backs that you will never hear of, that I will never hear of, that will never get opportunities, that 100% under the right circumstances had what it took to go for 1,000 yards in a season. 100%. Like the Eli Mitchells of the world, they're all over. Running back is it's a position where there's so many starting caliber players, but there's not enough opportunities. Elijah McGuire is somebody that always comes to mind. I thought he's a very talented back that never really got an opportunity. Kalen Ballage, I think, is a very talented back that he got an opportunity, made the most of it with the Chargers, and then that was it. He became a free agent, signed with the Steelers. They draft Najee Harris. They fall in love with Benny Snell to be the backup for whatever reason, and so he didn't get an opportunity. I think there's a lot of guys like that in this league that are really good and don't get found. And J.D. McKissic is one of those guys. I remember watching him in Seattle and thought, man, this guy is a hell of a player. And if he ever leaves Seattle and gets an actual opportunity, he's going to do something with it. And sure enough, now McKissic is this coveted, scat back in Washington. I feel like that position, there's so many different, running backs all around where they don't get an opportunity, but if they did, they'd have 1,000 yards. I can't say the same about receivers. Do you know why? Because the receivers that play are the receivers that actually get open. They're the guys that focus on the little nuances of their game. They focus on the, you talk about the footwork. You talk about having the physicality to get off the line of scrimmage. Those are the things. They focus on the little things. And those are the guys that are playing on Sundays. And so you're like, why the hell is Marvin Hall catching touchdowns from Matthew Stafford? Because Marvin Hall can get open. Marvin Hall can stretch the field. That's why he was catching touchdowns from Matthew Stafford in Detroit. How is Danny Amendola, age 36, starting for the Texans? I'll be honest, the Texans had a little bit of a rough go there. They didn't have a ton of help at the receiver position. Chris Conley was supposed to be one of their starters. But Danny Amendola, let's call it like it is. Everywhere he goes, he's productive. He's not uber productive. He's not a 1,000-yard receiver, but there's a reason why the league can't seem to get rid of him. There's a reason for that. So that's kind of what I'm saying, is that there are guys that, that position, typically, the wide receiver position, you're not going to see like a ton of that, right? There are guys that may not get an opportunity, but they'll be found. For the most part, injuries will derail them. Denari Alexander. Running backs, though, there are so many that you will never know could have done something because of just how many opportunities, and the fact that it's a passing league now, and the fact that it's basically a running back by committee league. And so those guys don't get an opportunity. Nothing like running for a 50-yard run, wanting to stay in and being taken out for a guy to just punch in at the 1-yard line. You don't get the touchdown, but hey, you got 50 yards. That's great. Totally out of the rhythm now because now we're taking turns. That's the problem with the running back position. It's why I think if Trey Sermon left the 49ers and went to, a different type of, blocking scheme, or, went to a team that, wanted to power run, I think, you probably get more out of him than what you saw in San Francisco, which was not much at all. Anyway, we went off on a tangent there. I apologize. I don't even know how we started talking about Frank Gore. Where are we? Okay. So, Rams Twitter still hating on the 2-2 pick. What's up, the real GOAT? Appreciate you. Oh, it was the TG30 comment. Okay. I was like, where did we go? We do that a lot. I'm trying to get better at this Q&A thing. But I know you guys don't hate so much that I ramble on. I do have substance when I talk, as a green substance is talking about. So anyway, Rams Twitter still hating on 2-2 pick. I get it, but give the guy a chance. I agree. And we're going to try to get 2-2 Atwell on soon. Big fan of him. A lot of fun to talk with him. Been keeping up with him a little bit, so we'll try to get him back on the show. Let's see. Super Bowl 56 champs. Yup, absolutely. I don't know why, but I have a feeling OBJ is going to leave. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing he stays as the way I was before. Because of what happened with Allen Robinson. I did not expect that, but we'll see. What about Jackrabbit? Interesting. I don't know if he fits. I think he's more of an all or nothing type of corner, and I don't think the Rams want that. We about to smack the whole league. I think we go 13-4 this year. Honestly, I feel the defense won't give up many of those short BS plays with Wagner. Could see that. I'm kind of leaning towards 14-3. I had 15-2 last year. I don't think a team's going to go 15-2. 14-3, 13-4. I think around that makes sense for the Rams. Rams Twitter hates 2-2 because the Rams Twitter just sees him stream and play Twitch all day, Julio. And I'm with you, though. Give him a real chance first. Dr. Dingus, it was interesting to hear Sneed say that it was Wagner that had interest first. They told him to see what his options were while they see if they could fit the defense and cap. Yeah, that's kind of what I expect with Honey Badger, to be honest with you. What % sure are you the Rams going to get Gilmore or Mathieu? Okay, Gilmore, I'll give it a 20%. I'm not very sure. And then Mathieu, I'll say 45, which is almost 50-50, which is not bad. I mean, when I said that, I was told that there's interest there on both sides. There's interest there on both sides. It's not that he's going to be a Ram. So I'll go 45% chance that Honey Badger ends up, being a Ram. And I'll go 20% on Gilmore. I'm a little unsure about Gilmore at this point. I feel like he's going to go with, the Raiders, but we'll see. Who knows? What's happening, Jake and Ramley? What's up, LA Rams? Why do you think Mathieu is more likely than Gilmore? I think Mathieu fits a need more. I think Mathieu might be a little cheaper potentially. I don't know. I think based on what I've been hearing is that Mathieu sounds more likely, but heck, who knows? Maybe they get them both. I don't know how they would, but I mean that seems ridiculous, but who knows? Yeah, Honey Badger is in New Orleans right now. I saw that. Gilmore rumors. I saw one tweet where this guy said, and with all due respect, if he's in here, I'm not hating. I'm really not. But it's a little, it's hard to believe because it's not Adam Schefter reporting or anything. But, he was at his barber or whatever, and, it sounded like he made it sound like Gilmore was going to sign by the end of the week with the Rams. I don't see that, but if he's right, I will give him a lot of credit. I will. But my source did not have the same sentiment. More so leaning towards Mathieu and saying that people are more. Let me see if I can get the quote. I don't think my source will mind if I mention the quote. And as long as I don't mention who the source is. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Let's see. I'm looking. Trying to find it. You may think Gilmore is the guy, but the Rams actually covet Honey Badger more. So if there's any truth to that, I'm going to lean Honey Badger on that one. That was random. Would you rather have one of Gilmore or Mathieu or OBJ? Don't make me do this. OBJ is my favorite player right now, aside from Stafford. It's tough because it's like Mathieu, I think, offers the most right away. I'll probably say Mathieu, as much as I love OBJ, but if I had to choose one, I think Mathieu would make a massive impact. No, it's not NFL Rums. No, not a real source. No. No. We need OBJ back. Let's need change the game. Hoping we get a solid second corner. I want Boye in all caps. Damn, you really want Boye. All right, I see you. Been more right than Hodor. OBJ feels like he brings more than just his wide receiver talent. Dude has a different type of swag about him. Like he gets dudes fired up. The intangibles that can't be measured. He's a leader. I agree. I actually 100% agree, and that was really evident. Noah, what I just said about that, the quotes, so to speak, that is basically it on Gilmore. You may think Gilmore is the guy, but the Rams actually covet Honey Badger more. That's what I've been told. So, not really much else on that end. I don't know what an eng is. I meant to say end. Can you tell it's 11:28 on the East Coast? And that I hardly get any sleep? Yeah, I think you can tell now. If you don't know, now you know. All right. Doesn't seem like a prime destination. All we've gotten is Robinson and Wagner. Well, keep in mind, it doesn't seem like a prime destination because the Rams don't have a ton of cap space. they're not sitting there with like 80 million. Can you imagine if this team had 80 million cap space? They could get anybody. That's the thing. They would be horrifying. But the only way that happens is if, Aaron Donald retires, and you probably don't want that. So I'm still waiting for the Rams to re-sign Dante Dion. I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't say Dion is 100% coming back. Also, what's weird is I just saw Aaron Donald on a podcast saying it's not about the money anymore. He wants to win another championship and is okay with other guys getting paid, so why the new contract? I don't know, man. 80 is phenomenal. I don't know. I think he wants to get paid. I think that's been the most used thing ever. There's nothing against wanting to get paid, but yeah. Jayhawk hoodie? Yeah. Yeah, Nolan. You know it. The Warhawk. Oh, let's go. And, to that end, I will say this. There were Duke fans and Kentucky fans on Twitter saying Kansas is done. Okay? After they won the championship. First thing, McCormick is gone, Abaji's gone, Brown's gone, Remy's gone. Kansas has 3 5-star recruits incoming and a 4-star. One of those 5-star recruits resembles Joel Embiid in the post. So they'll finally get a really good center. I mean, they look really nasty next year. I'm not going to lie. The guys that they already have on the team, they didn't even get an opportunity to play this year, really. But they sat behind some really good talent. They're not going anywhere, folks. Bill Self finally has his second championship. He's not going anywhere. But now I'm going to have to, because you guys don't understand if you're not a Kansas fan, I'm going to now have to listen to, just like how McVay, and we all had to listen to, is McVay going to go into TV? I'm going to have to listen to, as a Jayhawk fan, is Bill Self going to go to the NBA? Is he going to coach the Lakers? Man, I'm a Lakers fan, and I'll be pissed if they hire him, because I don't want him leaving Kansas. I like Kansas more than I like the Lakers. I love the Lakers, but Kansas is Kansas. Like, it's different for me. Let's see. Greetings, fans of the world champion Los Angeles Rams. What's up, Stan? We don't need Gilmore. Rochelle is a stud. I can't wait to watch Rochelle work, man. I really think Rochelle in a bigger role with another year, another offseason under his belt, I think can be something. I really do. No chance Honey Badger is next. Sorry, but let's be real. The Rams don't focus on safety. Well, Lee, the Rams never focused on inside linebacker, and here they are with Bobby Wagner. So don't rule out a position. Don't rule out a player because of a position anymore with the Rams. If I learn anything with the Rams, it's that they're no longer predictable. Okay? They're not predictable because they do things like you wouldn't expect. I mean, the Bobby Wagner thing, I wasn't expecting Von Miller. Okay? Never thought that was happening. OBJ I called, so I was expecting that. But, I mean, they had the balls to go out and get Matthew Stafford. They had the balls to go out and trade, for Von Miller. They signed Leonard Floyd. I was surprised. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to get him back. I thought he was going to go to the Chargers. When they got him back, I was really excited. This team is not predictable. They do different things. They mix it up. And I guarantee you this is going to be a whole new offense than what we're used to seeing, because I think there's going to be some college concepts thrown in there. I think Liam Cohen is going to change things up a lot, and I'm just telling him. I'm just telling you, man. This team, if you think you have this team figured out, you don't. You don't. I think I have it figured out as far as the archetypes of who they draft. That's it. Because drafting, it's not that they're predictable, but they have a type. And I think a lot of teams do. But here's the thing. People would be like, oh, well, why would you have a type? Thank you, RV Hopper, for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Why would you have a type if you're basically, showing your hand? Because you're telling everybody in the draft, I'm going to draft this guy. Well, here's the thing with that. Everybody in the league has a type. Like, everyone knows, there's certain teams that covet certain players. Like when the Vikings had, they don't have him anymore, thank God. But when they had Mike Zimmer and they, underperformed and, were, complacent. Sorry, I gotta throw my digs in. I don't know how he lasted that long. But anyway, when they had those issues, the Vikings, everyone knew Mike Zimmer wanted corners. They just kept drafting and drafting and drafting corners. Okay, that's one of those things. That's their thing. But as far as like to make it a longer thing, some teams like the Rams, and you guys know because I've literally said it on here multiple times, the Rams have a certain archetype in a corner. No arm length, smaller than 30 inches, typically a zone scheme fit, good football IQ. There's no height requirement. They've had a 5'7" cornerback in Nickel Roby-Coleman, played nickel. They've had a 5'9" quarterback, Darius Williams, play on the boundary. I mean, there's no, like, Dante Dion is 5'7", 5'8". Like, they don't care about the size, you know? So that is something. But, yeah, there's all different archetypes, and that's my thing. Lee, I think when it comes down to it, the Rams aren't really predictable right now. I would not rule out safety just because they don't typically pay safety. They don't typically pay linebacker, and they paid a linebacker. I think the only thing that you could say is that the Rams have a type that we're starting to learn that, when it comes to the draft, and that's about it. Like, I wouldn't say right now that I could tell you exactly who they're going to draft, but I have a list, and I can guarantee you if they draft a cornerback, it's on this list, which is long, but it's on the list. So, I kind of have an idea of where they're going. And I also want to give a shout out to my guy, Blaine Grisak, who's done an incredible job over at downtownrams.com. You can go check that out for all your Rams needs. Blaine has this really cool, it's this column, this series that I really advise you to check out. It's called Sneed's Snacks, and what he does is he takes, different archetypes, different things that, the Rams typically look for in their draft prospects over the course of however long that they've been doing it. And, he basically makes a list. And so I'm going to, kind of read a little bit to you. I want you to go and check it out on downtownrams.com. But, he did Sneed Snacks on April 4th. Who could the Rams draft at cornerback? And this is a great question. Well, he takes the notable past Rams drafted players. He goes through all of their measurables, the percentile, the size grade, the speed grade, the RAS score, the traits. He does an incredible deep dive on all these guys. David Long, Robert Rochelle, E.J. Gaines. These are guys that Les Snead has drafted since becoming the GM, including Brandon McGee, who was a 5th-round pick out of Miami for the Rams, and then Janoris Jenkins, Tremaine Johnson, Troy Hill. So, he was an undrafted player, but he's another one that he put together, Darius Williams. So then he puts together the traits, and this is just really well organized. It's a great article from Blaine, and he basically ranks these guys based on who fits the Rams. I mean, he has Cam Taylor-Britt here. If Taylor-Britt falls to the Rams at 104, he will likely be very much in consideration. 2 of Taylor-Britt's RAS comps are Janoris Jenkins and Brandon McGee. The Rams drafted both players. Taylor-Britt had 5 interceptions and 22 pass breakups at Nebraska and showed he was a very physical cornerback. The Nebraska corner ran a sub 4.4 40 time with a great composite speed RAS score. Keep an eye on this Big Ten corner. So he has him. He has Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State. He's got Chase Lucas. He's got all sorts of guys. Jacoby Durant. And then he's got some honorable mentions. He mentions my guy Monteric Brown, Alante Taylor out of Tennessee, Tariq Castro Fields. And he just does a really good job. So I just wanted to give him a shout out, but also, let you guys know that he's doing this because this is a brilliant. I'm really impressed with Blaine's series that he created out of thin air. No one's doing what Blaine's doing with this. I've looked. Jordan Rodriguez had a piece like this, but I want to give credit for him because, Blaine really does a nice job here putting together all these guys. Players who fit the Rams on the edge. Josh Paschal from Kentucky. He has D'Angelo Malone. That's my guy. Kyron Johnson out of Rock Chalk KU. Jeffrey Gunter from Coastal Carolina. Dominic Robinson from Miami, Ohio. Christopher Allen from Alabama. Ali Fayad, who you guys know because we interviewed him, from Western Michigan. So he just does a great job, and I definitely recommend you guys checking it out over on downtownrams.com. Be sure to check out those great articles from him. That series is fantastic. He's just putting in some great work, so I wanted to be able to throw that out there. But let's get back into it because we have a lot to cover, and I'm going to lose my voice probably before we do. So I'm going to try and get to everybody, but we'll see. And YouTube will probably screw me up, and I'll probably lose comments. Like I said, it's a work in progress. I'll get better at the Q&As. My apologies for not being the best at Q&As. I'd like to be better. I will get better over time. But as of right now, I don't think I'm the best at Q&As as far as picking up, where I left off and things like that. So just saying. But anyway, okay. So safety position is important to the scheme. Absolutely, Nolan. Taylor Rapp concussion is a concern. Absolutely. Saints lost Malcolm Jenkins, and they might offer Honey Badger substantially more than we could. Yeah, it's going to depend. Does Honey Badger want to win a Super Bowl, or does he want to play for the Saints that have a weird direction of where they're going right now? I mean, I really like Jameis Winston. I hope it works out, but I don't know what they're doing. I mean, that trade with the Eagles was bizarre. I've never seen anything like that. So, very, very odd trade the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it. I think it was yesterday. With the Eagles. I mean, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to go through it. It was a weird trade. A bunch of picks went all over the place, and it was just bizarre for a trade to happen that early. I mean, it's I'm close to the draft, and I mean, I understand it's April, but the draft's not like here, like it's not draft day. You don't make a trade like that before the draft. It's just bizarre, really bizarre. Weddle won't be coming back, but yes, when he came back, it was a blessing. I have concerns about safety and corner injuries and depth of concern. I agree with that. And to be fair, for people that think they should draft a corner, I mean, I think they should definitely draft a corner. For people that think they should sign a corner, I get that too, because, David Long, he wasn't hurt, I don't believe, but Rochelle dealt with injury, So, I mean, after that, you have, Tyler Hall. I'm trying to, say off the top of my head, and right now I'm blanking. Tyler Hall, Creemore, and Grant Haley. Those are the other corners. So you could use an upgrade for sure. Not going to lie there. But, that's that. They shouldn't let Dion go. I don't want them to let him go, but I'm not guaranteeing he'll be back. We'll see. Let's see here. Doc Rivers, please no, by the way. Oh, absolutely. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it again. I'm not trying to discredit this guy entirely. I'm not saying that he's never done anything, but Doc Rivers is incredibly overrated. The way people talk about him, you would think he's had all these titles. He has one. He has one title. And that title was the start of the Big Three era. So it was when they got KG and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, and they had Rondo. He's got one title. I'm sorry. I'm not a believer in Doc Rivers, and I don't think I would rather keep Vogel if we're going to go out and get Rivers. To me, it's either Quinn Snyder or, I mean, I'd be cool with Mark Jackson. I don't know why he's never gotten an opportunity since Golden State. I don't know. What he might have said something. I don't remember. Maybe you guys can tell me, but I just don't know why he hasn't gotten the respect he deserves. I really think Mark Jackson would be interesting with the Lakers. I don't think he's gotten enough of an opportunity, in my opinion, because I remember before Steve Kerr, he was the coach. He was the coach of the Golden State Warriors, and they were getting there, but they weren't there yet. I don't know. Phil Jackson, that would be something. I don't think he's in any shape to coach. He's older, He's like in his 80s, I think. But, I won't rule out anything when it comes to the Lakers. He's just a motivational speaker. One of my closest friends said that once, and I not even kidding you, I was bawling. Like, I was in tears laughing. I don't know if it was the way he said it, but Nolan, yeah. I mean, God, that killed me. Because I wasn't expecting it. He's like, I don't know why we make such a big deal about Doc Rivers. He's just an emotional speaker. It's just like, I lost my mind. I thought it was hilarious. I don't know why, but I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, so, I mean, I saw the Doc Rivers comment, so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. But I think Quinn Snyder, if the Jazz let him go, makes a lot of sense. I think Mark Jackson makes a lot of sense. I mean, we'll see who becomes available. Just stay away from Bill Self. He's at Kansas forever, so just stay away from him. But, I mean, I wouldn't rule out a college basketball coach like a Tom Izzo or somebody coming over from college basketball. I don't think Izzo would necessarily work, and he only has one championship, despite the fact that we talk about him like he's royalty. He won in 2000, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly the year. I think it was in 2000, but I don't know. I mean, there's probably somebody out there that makes sense, but I don't know. I think they'll be fine. The Lakers, they have more of a roster structure issue that they'll probably get figured out sooner than later. And if not, they'll have a dark age, and that's just the way it'll be. But yeah, Doc Rivers is not the answer, not at all. And honestly, to be real with you, the best option was probably Jason Kidd. So if they could get Jason Kidd back, that would be great. I don't see it happening because I believe Jason Kidd is on a good team right now. He's coaching... he's coaching the Dallas Mavericks. I don't see him leaving the Mavericks to go coach the Lakers. I just don't. I wouldn't mind it. I think Kidd would make a lot of sense. He was the assistant coach the year they won the championship. So that makes sense, but that's kind of where I gravitate towards. Like if he is available, if the Mavericks want to get rid of him, by all means, bring him over to LA. I'm all for that, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't. Who are the Lakers' assistant coaches? I'm going to check that out right now. Anybody interesting? Oh, Fizdale. I don't like Fizdale. I really don't. I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not. He would probably be the interim coach. I don't want Fizdale. No. Mark Jackson or Quinn Snyder for me. But that's my thoughts on that. I haven't seen Doc draw up a play ever. Oh, man. Let's see. Terrell Burgess and Nick Scott deserve to be in the safety rotation along with Fuller. They don't need Tyrann. I disagree, and I love Burgess. I'd love to see him get an opportunity, but I still think Burgess can have a role. If they finally give him a role, that he can have a role with Tyrann Mathieu. They could totally do that. So, Liam Cohen, yeah, I'm excited. Why do they have the Bucs favored over the Rams when they are 3-0 against them? No idea whatsoever. None. It's bizarre. It's weird. I don't get it. Honey Badger is a 45% chance to get a deal with Super Bowl champion LA Rams per Jake Ellenbogen, NFL Rums. Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong, Nolan, and here's why. NFL Rums would report that and not include my name at all. That's what would happen. They would take it for their own because they've done that a lot. That's funny, though. Welcome to the club, Hopper. Jake, let's do this more often. I'm game. I'm considering, because tomorrow I really don't have a lot going on. I'm considering going live on my gaming channel and playing some Elden Ring if anyone's interested. But I don't know who would be. If there's enough people, I'll consider it. Or maybe even God of War. I got into that game. The real Kronkster knows if you build it, it will come. Let's see. Yeah, why are the Bucs favored over the Rams? Because Brady is back. Brady is still not winning another Super Bowl. Nancy, I'm with you. That's literally the only reason I can think of, because it's like, for whatever reason, everyone wants him to win an 8th Super Bowl. I don't know. But Tampa is not a better team than the Rams. They have a worse their roster isn't as good as last year. Like, I love how Ali Marpet, this 28-year-old guard who's an absolute bully, he's a freak. I mean, Ali Marpet's great, guys. He's retiring. Like, he just retired. I mean, I'm going to look at their depth chart right now because I want to see who replaced him because I don't remember. It's totally escaping me. But I like what they did getting Russell Gage. Great. Gage is underrated. Gage is not Antonio Brown, though. So keep that in mind. I like Gage. Gage is not Antonio Brown. I understand Brown's gone. They did have Brown, though, last year for some of the season. Donovan Smith, good left tackle, right? Ryan Jensen, they brought him back. He's fantastic. And he works very well with Tom Brady. And he's got this mean streak about him. Great. But aside from that, like, they get Shaq Mason. They get him from New England. But now they're talking... Aaron Stinney would be their left guard. I liked Stinney coming out of the draft. I remember when he went to Tennessee and I wanted the Rams to get him out of James Madison. I was a fan of Stinney's game, but Stinney starting. Then you have Nick Leverett and Sedarius Hutcherson, who I believe we actually interviewed at some point or another. I believe we did. We definitely interviewed him. He's one of the only guys we interviewed from the 2021 draft class. Yeah, we only interviewed 2 guys, I believe. So he's one of our only ones. So those are the guys, and then they have Brandon Walton and John Mulchin. I mean, if you don't see how they need another guard, I don't know what to tell you. So, that I don't know, man. Tristan Wirfs is probably the best right tackle in football. So definitely not hating on him. Defense, Raheem Nunez-Roches, Vita Vea, William Golston, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Carlton Davis, Logan Ryan, Antoine Winfield Jr., Jamel Dean, and Sean Murphy Bunting with Mike Edwards, Ross Cockrell, and D. Delaney. I mean, they're as good as they were last year, if even. I do think that they take a step back as far as how good they are. They're not a bad team. They're going to probably win their division. But because, I mean, Deshaun Watson didn't go to the Falcons or the Saints. So they probably will win their division. But, like, can we calm down a little bit here? Like, for real? I mean, I like Todd Bowles too. Like, I kind of want Todd Bowles to have success. I feel like he is a good coach, and he got a raw deal with the Jets. I can't even talk. And I like Byron Leftwich. But this team is literally being talked about as they're the best team because of Tom Brady. That is what's happening. Great they have Leonard Fournette. Great they have Giovanni Bernard, Keyshawn Vaughn, and they brought in Kenyon Barner. But they don't have Ronald Jones. They let him go. I mean, is Gronk going to come back? Because right now, Cameron Brate and Cody McElroy are their tight ends. Cody McElroy, the same Cody McElroy that spent a lot of time on the Rams practice squad. I just don't look at this and think, this is the team that's going to take down the Rams. I don't look at this team and think, yep, they're going to throw all over a defense that has a front of Aaron Donald, Greg Gaines, A'Shawn Robinson, Leonard Floyd, Justin Hollins, Bobby Wagner. I mean, think about it. Like, I mean, Ernest Jones in his second season, Jalen Ramsey. I don't see it. So I don't know why they're getting so much talk, but it is what it is, I guess. I couldn't tell you. I don't really understand, because when people are like, Jake, why is Tampa ranked ahead of the Rams? I don't know. I really don't. If they were better than the Rams, like much better, I would tell them. I would tell you like it is. But yeah, that's another thing. Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh, who knows if they come back or not. So I think that I would focus more. The team that is not getting enough talk. We talked about the Niners, right? We talked about the Packers. Packers have Rodgers again. They're still in it. I don't think that this team, though, particularly, is going to be enough to beat the Rams. So who is a team that no one's talking about that would have a chance? and I would say a team that has familiarity with the Rams. Head coach Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not saying that they would beat the Rams, but they're a team to watch out for. For whatever reason, no one wants to talk about the Minnesota Vikings and the fact they have Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, Kenny Nwangwu, and then you look at the fact they have Irv Smith back. He's healthy. They added Johnny Munt. I really like Zach Davidson, the 5th-round pick from last year's draft. And then you look at the offensive line. You have Christian Darrisaw, 1st-round pick in 2021. Ezra Cleveland, 2nd-round pick in 2020. You have a 1st-round pick in 2019, Garrett Bradbury. Jesse Davis is at right guard, but they did draft Wyatt Davis in the 3rd round, as well as Oli Udoh in the 6th. And they have Brian O'Neill, a guy that's kind of turned into what they were hoping for at right tackle. You have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, BC Johnson, Amir Smith-Marset, and then, oh, by the way, their defense looks pretty damn good. You get Harrison Phillips from Buffalo. You have Jalen Twyman. You have Dalvin Tomlinson, okay? Then you have Armon Watts, who I think is underrated, a 6th-round pick out of Arkansas in 2019. You have Zadarius Smith, who you just added. DJ Wonnum played really well. Janarius Robinson is a 4th-round pick in 2021. Jordan Hicks came over from Arizona. That was a really underrated and a really good signing. Troy Dye is someone they still have a lot of belief in. 4th-round pick in 2020. You get a 3rd-round pick in 2021, Chaz Surratt. You talk about Eric Kendricks, one of the best linebackers in football. You have all sorts of guys here. I mean, Danielle Hunter, who they kept. Danielle Hunter. Sorry, I can never say that guy's name right. Kenny Willekes, Patrick Jones, the 2nd, a 3rd-round pick in 2020. You have Patrick Peterson, who came back on a 1-year deal. You have Chandon Sullivan coming from Green Bay, who's going to help you in the slot. You have Cameron Dantzler, who probably could get a little bit better. I would hope he gets better, but he's still not a bad option, a 3rd-round pick in 2020. Cameron Bynum's a guy I like a lot out of California. They moved him to safety, 4th-rounder in 2021. Harrison Smith is still awesome. They got Josh Metellus out of Michigan in the 6th round 2020. This Vikings team, no one is talking about them. I mean, I would argue that this Vikings team could beat Tampa, they could beat Green Bay, they could beat the Niners. They are a very good football team. The only issue that people seem to have is that Kirk Cousins, can't win big games. That's the biggest issue that people are saying. But what if putting Kevin O'Connell in that Sean McVay-inspired offense is all it really took to get Kirk Cousins back on that path? Because think about it. When he was with Kevin Stefanski, there were good times, there were bad times. I think Kevin O'Connell focusing more on less about being a defensive-minded team like Zimmer did, and more about being an offensive-minded team, and now having a defense to boot. I'm not going to lie to you. This Vikings team is not getting anywhere near enough credit that they should be getting. And if we're talking about any team that is a dark horse to sneak up on the Rams and win the NFC, it's not the Bucs. It is not the Niners, because they're not really a dark horse. It is not the Packers. It's the Vikings. And the Vikings could still somehow steal the North. I'm not saying they will, but I think there's a chance. And I just don't think we're talking about this team enough. This is a really good roster on paper. And I think it's only going to get better in the draft. And I will say this. This roster is so good, in my opinion, so much better than what many would have expected, that I'm looking at this team, and I was just talking to Alexis about this right after we interviewed one of the prospects today. And I was like, we're going through, and Jacksonville's picking one, and we're like, you know what? Jacksonville, they could go with a Kwanwu. They could go with, I forget his name now. Totally just the guy for Michigan. She loves him. Aiden Hutchinson. They could go for those guys, right? Why would Jacksonville go for any of those guys? Why would Jacksonville not trade down? There's no one that they need there. They actually have positions filled in the guys that would be available, number 1 overall, the guys that you would think. Here's the thing. They franchise tagged, the left tackle, Cam Robinson. They still have Jawan Taylor, the right tackle. They spent a 2nd-round pick last year on Walker Little. 2nd-round pick. And Jacksonville doesn't need a tackle for that reason, because they've committed to Cam Robinson. They have a second rounder put in. They have a second rounder put in to Juwan Taylor. So I don't think they're going to go guard or center here. I think they really do need a center. Tyler Shatley is not it. But they're not going to pick one at number 1 overall. So I'm saying right now, what if the Jaguars traded down? And what if the Vikings, with the roster they have, and it's a really good looking roster, if they traded up and they got a guy? What if, hear me out when I say this, look at the Vikings, what we were talking about. The one thing that I was like, all right, corner and safety. I like Cameron Bynum. They could upgrade there, though. And I like Dantzler long-term. Chris Boyd isn't half bad. They added Ty Smith for depth. Chandon Sullivan. Patrick Peterson's older. They have Nate Hairston, who they got from Denver, and Harrison Hand. But what if they decide to be like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just get Kyle Hamilton. Let's trade up and get Kyle Hamilton. I'll tell you right now, if this team puts Kyle Hamilton with Harrison Smith, that could be lethal. But even more so, if this team gets Sauce Gardner, I'm sorry. I think the Vikings are that team no one is talking about, and they ought to be talking about, because this is a team that I think is equipped to be able to do something like that. Make a move, trade some picks, trade up. It's a new regime. And if they're okay with the guys they have and they don't need to have their own guys, this is a good-looking roster, and they have a really, Mike Zimmer wasn't fired because this roster held him back. He held back the roster, and they fired Spielman. So Chris Spielman gets fired. So now this new GM, I cannot pronounce his name. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to find his name right now. But I cannot, for the life of me. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. I have a really good feeling about the Vikings. And, you can hold it against me. There's video evidence of me to support that I was all over the Vikings on April 6th, 12:01 a.m. on the East Coast, because we're already on the next day. But do not sleep on the team that's picking 12th in the draft. Vikings scare me, man. Just going to tell you that right now. They got a pick at 46 in the second. They got a pick at 12 in the first. They got a pick at 77th overall in the third. They do not have a 4th-round pick. They have a 5th-round pick, 156. They have a 6th, 184. They have back-to-back 6th-round picks, 191, 192. They have enough ammo to trade up. That's one thing. And there are other teams that I'm thinking of as well. But in the NFC, where this NFC looks like the worst NFC we've ever seen. And with everyone constantly hoping, because I feel like we just, not us necessarily, but fans out there just want Dallas to be good. And they force Dallas on us, and then when Dallas goes to the playoffs, they aren't as good as everyone said, because we're sitting here saying we told you so, because everyone's trying to force Dallas on everybody because they're blowing out a Washington team that doesn't have a quarterback or whatever. Vikings are that team that people aren't going to see coming. The Seahawks? I don't know about that one. Which of the AFC teams that made big splashes this offseason you see not living to expectations? That is a great question. It's hard to answer, though. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how good the Titans are going to be. I think Robert Woods is going to have a hell of a season in Tennessee, but I don't know how good the Titans are going to be. I don't think the Titans aren't a team that I look at and think that they can win a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. I think they're making mistakes sticking by Ryan Tannehill. I think this was their opportunity to... I mean, I'll say this right now. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback, but is he going to win you a Super Bowl? And I think he kind of proved it in the playoffs, throwing 3 interceptions and still somehow being in that game to have an opportunity to finish off Cincinnati. He couldn't do it. And I don't think it's going to get any easier. So I think Wood's gonna have a great year, but I'm not a big fan of the Titans. Um, the Colts are intriguing, but you're talking about a team that you're asking me is gonna, that made a big splash that is not going to do well, or that is going to disappoint. I just don't really know who made a big splash that is going to, disappoint. I mean, I feel like I'd have to reach and say the Chargers, but I don't know if I even believe that. I mean, I think we're absolutely, you know, in the realm of possibility. There's absolutely a chance that the Kansas City Chiefs are the worst team in that division. I'm saying it right now. I don't. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I think there's definitely a chance they can end up being the worst team in that division. I think the Raiders are being slept on. And I think I'll say this right now, Josh McDaniels' offense, it takes a little bit to get going, but if you do figure that out, it's a complicated thing that can really go a long way. So if they can install that, they can really take Derek Carr to the next level, in my opinion. So, I will say the Chiefs definitely have a chance to be a huge disappointment. A team that has a chance to be better than people think are the Jets, are the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have a great coach in Doug Peterson, and he's not necessarily the coach that you would have expected to go there. But what I like about Peterson is that he brings in the right guys. He surrounds himself with guys that he knows can do the job. He has familiarity with the Super Bowl. He's been in big games and he's won them. I think he's going to help, Trevor Lawrence. And I think with the number 1 overall pick, they have a lot of opportunity here. The only issue I have with Jacksonville is that they kept their GM, Trent Baalke, who's the big reason why the 49ers had their dark age that they did and they fell off a cliff. I mean, that's basically the reason. So I'm a little surprised that he even got a job. But Miami's an interesting one, Alex mentioned. You look at that offense, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, a lot of speed. And this is a speed league. So, it makes a lot of sense there why you would do that. You still have Lynn Bowden. You got Cody Core, who I think is underrated. I don't know if he'll have a role, but he's interesting. Preston Williams, if he stays healthy, we've seen some really good stuff out of Preston Williams, the former Colorado State wide receiver. Trent Sherfield, I like him. He showed some promise with the 49ers and Cardinals. So they have some guys there. But then on top of it, you have Mike Gesicki, Durham Smythe, Adam Shaheen, Hunter Long, a 3rd rounder in 2021, and Ethan Carter. I like their tight ends. I like the receivers. Wouldn't mind if they went out and got another receiver, but, the Dolphins do have a good look there. You have Teron Armstead at left tackle. You talk about Connor Williams, getting him at left guard. You have Michael Dieter as a 3rd round pick who's going to be playing center for them. Robert Hunt at right guard. And then, Kinley backing him up, and Liam Eichenberg, from Notre Dame, rounds out the right tackle spot. So there's a lot of talent here on this team. I agree with you. It all comes down to Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, they got a really good backup in Teddy Bridgewater, who might arguably already be better, but we'll see. Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, I think it makes a lot of sense. Mostert, obviously we know what he can do in the San Francisco offense if he stays healthy. Yikes. They still have Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed, and Jared Dokes, who's pretty solid. So a good overall offense. They spent money on Alec Ingold, so it's going to be a 49ers offense with the fullback. They're probably going to use Ingold, very similar to Kyle Juszczyk. And then you look at the defense, Emmanuel Ogbah, he's coming off, one of his best seasons. Raekwon Davis, 2nd round pick in 2020. You have to hope he, takes the next step. I like Adam Butler, who they got from New England. I like Deshaun Hall. They have Christian Wilkins, who's a 1st round pick in 2019 out of Clemson, who I would have hoped would have been a little bit better, but he's taken a little bit longer than you would have expected. I think he could have a better year this year. Andrew Van Ginkel, a funny name, but a 5th rounder out of, in 2019. He's been pretty solid for them. Landon Roberts, I think they can upgrade linebacker for sure, but Jerome Baker there, 3rd round pick in 2018. They like Duke Riley, who they got via a trade, I believe with the Eagles. Then you have Xavier Howard. You have Nick Needham, who's coming off a good year. You have Byron Jones, who's by far One of the more underrated corners in football. I mean, he's so good and does not get enough talk about anyway. Keon Crossan is a guy that they signed in free agency as well. They have Javon Holland, who's coming off a great rookie season at the safety spot, and Brandon Jones. They also added Eric Rowe. I mean, Noah Igbenogany is a first-round pick in 2020. If he ever develops, they have a lot going for them. And you could argue that Miami is really just needing some linebacker help. That's really it. I mean, I look and we didn't even talk about, guys. I didn't even mention him. Jalen Phillips. I got my favorite edge defender in the 2021 draft class, Jalen Phillips, on the edge. So you have him and Agba. I don't know. I like Baker. I think they need to upgrade Roberts and Van Ginkel, but I mean, you're talking about a team that theoretically, if Tua lives up to the hype, yeah, Michael, absolutely. If Tua lives up to the hype, this Dolphins team could be really good. That's what I will say. And they got our guy Blake Ferguson, friend of the podcast, came on. He's a long snapper. He was drafted in the 6th round. You realize how good of a long snapper you have to be to get drafted? But yeah. I don't know, guys. I think that, yeah, both the Dolphins and Vikings are like the same freaking team. They got like everybody on paper, and the only thing that you're really missing is probably like, 2 positions. And not like you could live without them, but you'd like to upgrade those if you can. The Dolphins are going to have an opportunity, though, because if I'm not mistaken, the Dolphins, they have the fewest selections, but they do have a 3rd-round compensatory pick that they'll get from San Francisco. They do have a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick and a 7th-round pick. So the compensatory pick here is going to be interesting. And it falls right in line where I think the Dolphins could get a guy like DeMarco Jackson out of App State. We interviewed him. Really cool dude. And he could come in there right away and help, shore up that linebacker spot. So, yeah, watch out for the Dolphins. You're absolutely right, Alex. I know you mentioned it, but damn, you were not kidding. Looking at that roster, I think the Dolphins and the Vikings are teams that maybe people won't see coming. I think a lot of teams have improved. I do like what the Jets are doing. I think the offensive line looks a little ugly, but in reality, I don't think it's that bad. I don't love George Fant at right tackle. I'm hoping he doesn't start, but you have Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. You did try to go out and get Tyreek Hill, which I applaud you for doing. That tells me that the Jets want to go out. They want to get the receiver now so they can draft defense, and I don't mind that at all. I'm thinking if they can get Sauce Gardner and I'll say Thibodeau, I think they'd be in really good shape. That would be awesome. But I mean, they did, like, think about this, right? Carl Lawson will be back. He didn't get a chance to play last year. Highly coveted pass rusher, very good pass rusher. When healthy, he's really good. They got Jacob Martin from Houston, underrated player in his own right. They got a 23rd round pick in Jabari Zuniga. Bradley Anai, who I think a lot of Rams fans wanted him. Quinnen Williams is an absolute stud. Nathan Shepard, 2018 third-round pick. They have Sheldon Rankins. They have Solomon Thomas, who they got in free agency, so I do like that move there. John Franklin Myers, long-term extended. We all know I love JFM. I think a lot of you do too. Quincy Williams comes over, via waivers, and joined Quinnen Williams last year. And then you have Hamilcar Rashid. I like him. Jamian Sherwood, solid player, 2021 5th-round pick. CJ Mosley, right? Hamza Nasruddin is another guy, from FSU, 6th-round pick in 2021, converted to linebacker. They got DJ Reed. Like I was saying, Reed is a fantastic cornerback, had a great year last year, coupled with Bryce Hall, who plays, ridiculous on the boundary. That's a really good tandem there at corner. Brandon Eccles was not bad at a Temple, 6th-round pick in 2021. So I mean, they have Javelin Guidry, they have Michael Carter the second. That's the second Michael Carter they have on the roster, and then you have Ashton Davis and Jordan Whitehead. You could argue that maybe you go out and you get maybe you use DJ Reed at nickel. You keep Hall on the boundary and you bring in Sauce Gardner. But either way, I mean, I could totally see this team just grabbing, Thibodeau or something. Like, grabbing, they'll probably grab a wide receiver. They might be the first team to draft a receiver. They got a decent roster. Zach Wilson, if he takes the next step, this is a good roster. I mean, Michael Carter, I think, is going to be a fantastic player. They still have Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, LaMichael P. Ryan. I think the receiver room can obviously be upgraded a little bit, but Denzel Mims is a 2020 second-round pick. We'll see what they do with him. But Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Braxton Berrios are not half bad. And I think Berrios will likely be the fourth receiver because I think the Jets are going to go out and get another guy. And that could be Jameson Williams. It could be Garrett Wilson. It could be... I mean, I haven't decided who the best receiver in the draft is, but Drake London, to me, is starting to kind of emerge as my wide receiver one. Jameson Williams, I think, is either one or two, but getting that size, that diversifies the receiver room. Getting that, Corey Davis is 6'3", getting a 6'5" Drake London on the outside. You have Elijah Moore, who's a very crafty route runner. He's got good size, not the best size at the receiver position, but good. And then you have Braxton Berrios, the short, quick twitch slot guy. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Jets, but you have Becton, you have Elijah Vera Tucker, Laken Tomlinson, you just signed. You got Connor McGovern, and then Chuma Edoga, assuming if he develops, that can be something. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets draft a tackle either. But the Jets, they also look. I mean, we're at the point in the season where, this offseason where now free agency happens and all of a sudden everyone starts to look somewhat good on paper. But the Jets are they're interesting. I think this is going to be a tough division for a team like New England to, get back into the playoffs because they weren't able to do a lot because they did all that last year. And so they kind of had to sit on their hands and just watch everyone around them, sign guys, essentially. Yeah, Ramsey is still the best defensive back in the NFL. I 100% believe that. Honey Badger over Gilmore. Top 5 teams in the AFC. Off the top of my head, I'll go number 1, Buffalo, and then there's a little bit of a gap. And number 2, I'm going to say the Bengals because they were just in the Super Bowl. And I do like their roster. Number 3, I'm gonna say the Chargers. Got a really good offensive line. Justin Herbert. Defense is improved. So number 3, I'll say the Chargers. So we got Bills, Bengals, Chargers. That's 3. Number 4, I'm going to probably take a little bit of a turn here. I'm going to go with the Ravens. The Ravens are healthy again. I think the Ravens are a team that's a lot better than people give them credit for, and I think John Harbaugh did an outstanding job being able to coach that team with all the injuries they had. I mean, I can't believe they won as many games as they did, but it just is a credit to his coaching, the coaching staff, the development of the players, and the overall depth that the Ravens have. They're going to have, guys like J.K. Dobbins back and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, who they lost, Gus Edwards. I mean, they had so many injuries. So I think the Ravens are number 4 for me. Number 5, I'll go. This is tough. I'll go Denver here. This is definitely subject to change. Let me just be honest with you right now. I'm going to go Denver here. So, did you say top 5 or top 6? Where was that? I can't even find it. YouTube, man. Come on, YouTube. Let's see. I thought it was Perrine, by the way, but I was actually told it was P. Ryan, which is funny that you said that. What the hell? I think you said top 6. So then the 6th one, I'll just say the Chiefs. It's hard for me right now. I might do a video ranking everything when I have like the rosters. I might do a pre-draft and then a post-draft video and see how much they change. But no, I don't think it'll affect Vaughn's play. I'm gonna say 5-12 as well. Substance. That sounds like a good record there. Top 5 team. Okay, so I did answer that. Okay, thanks, Terrence. I couldn't find your comment. I don't know what happened, but I agree with that, Alex. Absolutely agree. That's the plan. I don't know who it's going to be with. I mean, Alexis and I could very well be doing it from one location. I might, fly out to Chicago and do it with her, or we'll do it over, remote. But I do plan on having a live draft stream. So that would be the 3rd or 4th consecutive. I'm trying to remember. I think it would be the 3rd. Or maybe the 4th. I don't know. The Saints did meet with Honey Badger. Yeah, they did. What's up, Evan? I was going to call it a night probably pretty soon, so just fair warning. I might just pass on streaming Elden Ring tonight, and I'll probably just go live a little bit earlier tomorrow on the gaming channel. So if you guys are interested in that, yeah, if you are new here and you have not, been in touch with my live draft streams in the past, yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I thought last year's was just incredible, man. I thought the production was the best we've ever had. It was back when I finally got this camera, which has been a game changer. If you don't believe me, go back and look at my old videos. That's all I'll say. Just go back and watch my first videos. Look at the difference between this camera and the last camera I had. And the last camera I had, by the way, is exactly what you should have if you're starting up and you need a camera to start up. It's probably the cheapest you're going to get at that level of quality. But, oh, man. I'm going to go back and I'm probably going to watch the live stream of like our live stream. And because I remember the comments, but everything's going by so fast. And if you remember, I was updating the ticker and it was ridiculously difficult. So yeah, it's one of those things where like, it's so crazy in the moment and it's so hectic, but it's so worth it in the end. Like I love doing that. And that's back when we had the studio. That's another thing. If you guys look at some of the videos back in the day, I had a studio that I was doing a lot of those videos in. Actually, my first live stream on this channel was at the office. So, oh, Nolan, you were great. So were you, Substance. I remember that. You guys lost it when you saw my reaction because people were like, "No way, they didn't draft. Who is this guy?" It was fantastic, man. Oh man, it was fantastic. Alex, we're trying. We reached out to everybody. We got one punter. I don't remember who it is, but Alexis has been doing a great job with the booking. And yeah. No news on OBJ, unfortunately. No, because I don't even know like what YouTube's doing. I was trying to answer all these questions and then it got down to the bottom and I realized that it just skipped through and I can't even go back up. So such a pain in the ass. But My favorite player of all time, man, that's tough. I might say Kurt Warner, to be honest with you. It's either Kurt Warner or Marshall Faulk, but I think it's Kurt Warner because I mean, it was just such an honor to be able to have him on my show. Like, I went to Giants training camp when I was a little kid, and I met him, and I was wearing my I think I was wearing a Yankees jersey, actually, so never mind. But, we love the Rams here in New York, my family, and, we met Kurt Warner. He couldn't sign any more autographs. His hand was, like, dead, but he took a picture with us, which he didn't do with anyone else, really, and I just remember how special that was. I still have the picture, and then just being able years later to interview him on my podcast. It was incredible. And then keep in mind, when he came on our show, he kind of dropped news about that movie, American Underdog, coming out. So it was a big deal, I'm sure he had done it somewhere else, but I didn't know about it until that. So yeah, it was a big deal. Really cool stuff. AZZA, thank you for donating. What do I think about the Rams' new punter? Riley Dixon is very average to a little bit above average. He's not great. He's okay to solid. This tells me one of two things. Either the Rams don't value punter as much as everyone wants them to, and that's totally fine. They only punted 51 times with Johnny Hekker last year, which was the second fewest in his career since 2018. But at the same time, it could also mean the second thing, which is what I'm leaning towards. Riley Dixon is the starter now, but he is not a means to an end. I'm thinking bringing in Riley Dixon shows that they're bringing in Bajorquez level guy. And he's not as good as Bajorquez, but he's a guy that comes in, right? And he competes. And who is he going to compete against, you may ask? Well, I think the Rams are either going to draft Stout in the 7th or somebody like that, or they'll sign one of the guys coming out of this draft, undrafted free agent, similar to the way they signed Johnny Hekker, undrafted free agent. That worked out pretty well. It's going to be a punter competition. I absolutely agree, Nolan. There's no way Riley Dixon, in my opinion, is going to just win the job. I mean, he might win the job. He's not just going to be given the job, though, in my mind. I just don't see that happening, so... a little bit of a frame drop there. That was kind of weird, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this point, as far as my thoughts on that. How much cap? About $6 million. So, it would be 12, but they have to reserve $6 million for the draft because they have to pay their draft picks. So keep that in mind, but yeah, I'll drop the link of us interviewing Kurt Warner. Here's the issue. It wasn't a video. It was audio. That's the bummer of it. That's the one bummer I would say about it. But it was still awesome, and I absolutely enjoyed it. But I'm going to pull it up right now, actually. So just bear with me 1 second. Corner. Let's see here. Dropping frames like crazy. I don't know why we're dropping frames so much. I think it's probably the internet because, I mean, my computer's fast as hell. That was the whole point. All right. Here it is. Let's see. That is my interview with Kurt Warner. The link there. Be sure to check out the... 1 second. Be sure to join that Discord link. We have 441 members. Would love to get up to 500 at some point. and just keep that thing rolling. Guys, we're less than 3 hours away from I can't even talk. We're less than 3 hours away from Moon Knight episode 2. So I can't wait for that. That's all I got to say, though. That's pretty much it. I am beat. Okay, if you can't tell, I'm beat. I didn't sleep well. My sleep schedule is all over the place. But I really do appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy hanging out with you guys. This was supposed to be a quick Q&A, and then it just took off, and I'm glad. I mean, we've had over 100 people. We've maintained that the whole time, despite the fact it's 12:29 on the East Coast. The next day. So go join the Discord. Go check out the Kurt Warner interview. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Really do appreciate it. I love you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I say it all the time. I appreciate people on Twitter. There's a lot of great people on Twitter, but when I'm on YouTube, I'm with people that genuinely, it's like not everybody that is on YouTube is on Twitter, but it's like the more supportive people, I guess. Like, I find, come on here, they watch my show, they're constantly here, they're hanging out, they're having a good time, maybe they have their adult beverage or whatever, but I don't know, man. I feel like it's just great doing this. I really enjoy it. So thank you guys for making this so much fun. It's been a blast, and I'm feeling great. I mean, I got the Rock Chalk Championship. We got the Rams, obviously winning the Super Bowl. I know people have been asking me when am I going to put the Super Bowl hat on Michael. I might put a Kansas Jayhawk hat on Michael because I got the Rams helmet, but I don't have anything Kansas back there. So that's something we'll figure out, but in time. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. You guys take care. Be good people, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Depending on how early I get up, I really do want to stream on my gaming channel. I'm over 1,000 subscribers. You guys are freaking amazing. I got 2 channels over 1,000 subscribers. Do you know how amazing that makes me feel? Anyway, just had to throw it out there. I'm planning on going live tomorrow as early as I can. We'll see. I also might be going on some shows, but we'll see. I'll get you guys content tomorrow, no doubt, but I'll see you guys soon. Take care, have a great night, and enjoy Moon Knight Episode 2.